G'day, mate, and welcome to Friday Facts 377, new rails with new mojo. How you doing, mate?
Pretty good.
Excellent. This one's all about trains, which I understand you've slightly specialised in. There is a link down the description for I don't know how long now, an awful lot of Friday Facts now, because I'm lazy and I use your rail blueprints. Because they work.
They are. Well, I did spend like a year and a half designing them.
I know. And they work really well. And more importantly, they come in the proper drive, that being the left-hand drive.
Yeah, I do have a right-hand drive version as well.
I know, but we don't talk about those horrible things. You made those because you were forced to, because many people requested them. And the good news is the rails have been updated, so you get to do the whole thing again. So, yes. Rails. Yes. When playing with the rail system needs to be changed and needs a complete overhaul. When playing the game, we're reminded about two annoyances that can be caused by technical limitations. So-called S-bends are not possible. Two parallel rails would need at least 6 tiles in perpendicular direction in order to connect, which has been a long-standing feature, I think you call it, right, Mojo? Feature?
Yes.
And they do mention, how many times has it happened to you that two of your rails would not be able to easily connect? Oh boy, yeah, once or twice.
Any spacing that's less than a RoboPort, you can't connect.
And this is why you just use Mojo rails, because they just snap, yes. and they're grid aligned or not grid aligned. I don't care, but they snap, and you just place them, and then when you decide to put in a T intersection like the other side of your base, and then loop it back to the left hand side of the base. It just works. It all snaps together. It's perfect. Love it. Yep. And then I shoot people when they go off grid to start with. All right.
They untick the grid, or paste it down, pick it up, put it back down.
Yes.
It's designed to be like a toy train set track.
Yes. Yeah. So signal positions are often very restrictive as soon as curve rails cross any other rail. So building junctions is a lot of trial and error. To see if you can signal it properly. And this is more so the case when you use right-hand drive, which is the problem with their example right here.
Yes and no, because the opposite side is affected in left-hand drive. So some configurations work in one rotation, but then they don't work on the other direction.
Yeah, but generally, it's better generally they work better if they're left-hand drive, correct?
Generally, yeah, the signaling is a lot easier.
See?
I can confirm.
This is why
having said
left-hand
that,
drive.
Probably one of the worst configurations to deal with is a wide junction like that right there.
Oh yeah,
it's the stuff of nightmares.
Wide junctions are horrible. I know that. Don't build them. Build a T. But don't you know that if you run your rails on a 45-degree angle, your trains use more UPS. You should definitely be just putting them straight on T junctions. Yep.
There's a 1% mega base optimization right there.
Yeah, there is. Okay.
That is actually a thing.
It is actually a thing. Yeah. It's about the collision boxes are more complicated when trains are on a 45-degree angle. Yeah.
Yes, because the collision box is a rectangle. It only has to compute a rectangle in horizontal or vertical, whereas when it's on an angle, it has to do the sine and cosine.
So, apart from this, the rail system accumulated some technical debt over time, like hard-coded connectivity rules, hard-coded rail planner logic, curve rail being the only entity with multiple bounding boxes, and diagonal rails had front and back signal positions overlapping, which I have no idea what that one is, but sure. But
We'll just take their word for it.
Yeah. Bosky was more than keen to rewrite large sections of the underlying rail code, as one of the new benefits would be that we could easily define pretty much any rail shape. This was a prime opportunity to rethink really hard about solutions. If we update the rail system, it would have to improve all the major problems in a convincing way. So first off, they added an S-bend, which is a really good idea. It also means that stackers, because stackers have been a thing forever, people started making 45-degree stackers because you could put them in a tighter spot, which I understand. It was also really annoying when you see a whole base that was all nice and square and parallel and everything, and then horizontal and vertical, and then 45-degree stacker. Yeah. Let's dream for a moment and enjoy the idea of how beautiful an S-bend like this would be. But when it comes to Factorio, things are never simple. So all 5 of these directions would need to connect to a single rail piece, which is going to be problematic for Factorio. It's not really designed to do that terribly well. Yeah. At the moment, every rail can connect to at least, at most, 3 directions: left, straight, and right. Adding a special rail piece would either make curves incompatible with S-bends. You gotta build one, not both in the same spot, which would be a technical limitation, unobvious to the player. Why? This require 2 more connections: S-bend left and S-bend right, which mean all the rail performance would suffer because of more options. And also, when you go to manually drive a train, arrow keys would not be enough to clearly decide where you wanted to go. And it gets worse because of adding a single S-bend special piece would not be enough. Offsetting the rails by 2 tiles is nice, but maybe what is even more important is a 4-tile offset, which would be achievable by building 2 of the 2-tile offsets in a row. But it'd be look like that. Yeah, that's cursed.
Yeah.
That's cursed. That is.
It's kind of funny because the conversation about making a hexagon angle out of curves just like that has been going on recently.
Oh, has it? Oh my god. Okay. So the idea, we came to the conclusion that it might be ideal to split the curve in half, allow opposite curves to connect to each other, forming an S-bend which allows signals to be placed in the middle. Plus, we'd add half diagonal directions to the rails, which could extend the S-bend as much as we want. Now, Mojo, can we go back 3 steps? Previously, rails had a straight section and a curve section, and there were 2 different types of rail that you actually had to craft.
2 different entities that you physically had to have a machine to craft.
Yeah, which also meant that when you went out to go do things, you had to carry both straight rails and curved rails with you.
Curved rails, yes.
And I guarantee you, one of them you didn't bring enough of. Every time.
Every time it was usually like straight rails or curved rails you'd run out of, and it'd just be really annoying. Which is somehow it was even more annoying than pressing the R key 17 times to get the right rotation on the curve.
Yeah.
When you're building a junction.
Yeah. We would. Yes. That was annoying, but when you ran out of rails, it was not by a small margin; it'd be by a massive margin. It'd be like, I have no, curved rail, but I still have 600 straight rail because of course I do. So we came to the conclusion might be split it in half, and then we get wonderful thing, and now we can move across by 4 tiles, any length S-bend, perfect.
So now they have this 22.5 degree rail.
Oh my god!
It's half 90.
Half 90.
Yes.
45.
It's before. It's not before coffee. Coffee hasn't finished. The magical bean juice hasn't fully digested yet.
Let him go. All right. So it's all good. It's great ideas. And now how do we put this in tiles, rail shapes, and actual graphics? So the geometry of all the above sound excellent paper. When it comes to implementation, geometry is merciless. One main rule of even the new rail system implementation adheres to: every connection point has to be located on an integer grid coordinates. This is necessary to make the rail planner and rail signals positions work reasonably simply. Straight tracks are easy to make, but curves, which are difficult, we can only move the control points by entire tiles. Cutting curves in half would add control points in places which would make it impossible to make a curved rail look nice. Have a look at how jagged the new rail shape candidate curvature would be. So we have a wonderful slider. I love the wonderful sliders.
I do like these slider images.
Yeah. So we have control point number 1, which is bad. Control point number 2, which is like where the end of the rail track would end, which is also pretty bad. Number 3, which is
It's funny talking about, you see the 2 control points in the middle at the 45. That's what actually gave me terrible flashbacks of the pre-version 13 track.
Because that used to be a rail piece.
Yes, if you wanted a diagonal, you used to have to put a straight rail there.
Yeah, but that was also a rail piece. That was like a little, it was a triangle piece of rail that you'd have to put there. And then the next piece to get a diagonal would be a triangle that's flipped 180 degrees to snap onto the end.
So, you know how I said that you had to do that for curves? You had to rotate it 17 times? You had to do that for straight rail too, to go through all of the diagonal triangles.
I know. I remember.
Oh yeah, we
But
all remember. We all remember the cursed,
yep,
cursed
but
days.
what made it worse is because that tiny bit of straight rail moves such a little amount of such a small amount of distance. This is one of the reasons why you'd end up running out of either straight rail or curve rail, because you'd end up doing a bit of 45-degree and suddenly burn through 600 pieces of rail and your R button on the keyboard. Yep. We can also see that the new shape doesn't exactly line up with the old shape from version 1.1. So yes, small problem. So there is just too many control points, since the diagonal triangles are both weird to build with in general and pose a lot of geometrical difficulties. I was extremely happy to attempt to let them go. Unfortunately, as you can see below, the middle of the curve is such a curve end up in the center of a tile, which isn't allowed position to define, so this wouldn't work either. Also notice that while the curve is much smoother in the middle, ends up still a lot sharper than the 1.1 rails were, which doesn't quite look natural either. So we fix one problem when we ruin another problem. Yeah.
Yep. Funny, for the most part, it looks all right, but then you look at the bottom and it's just suddenly just curve.
Yeah.
And then it sort of goes straight.
Yeah, it definitely has that, we're going to curve for a little bit, then we're going to go straight in the middle, and we're going to curve a bit more. Which, from memory, is exactly what we had previously prior to the, straight and curve rails. Except I sort of remember at like control point 1 and control point 3, you'd end up putting a small straight section in there as well. So it'd be curve, straight, curve, curve, straight, curve.
Something like that.
It's a long time ago.
The exact combination. Yeah, it was a long time ago. I don't remember. I blanked out those memories.
Yeah.
Like you used to just carry around a blueprint with full 90-degree curves or S-bends, various little pieces of these tracks. Just so
it was quicker. It was quicker and easier to paste down a blueprint. Which, by the way, you still had to craft a blueprint, and you also had to craft a clearing of a blueprint, and you also had to craft a decom planer. But we're not going to go there.
A red circuit to make one and a green circuit to clear one.
Yeah. Which means we kind of ran out of options to make a nice curve, at least with this curve radius. But what if we try to make the curve a little bit bigger? In fact, just the smallest increment of radius from 11 to 13 tiles helped tremendously. The edge pieces in the section are perfect circle, and the middle control point is on integer grid coordinates. So rails have got slightly bigger, which
I
think I'm okay with.
I think we can live with it.
I think I'm okay with it.
I've already been digesting the thoughts on how it affects the rail blueprints, and I don't think it affects it that much.
Yeah, the curve size increase is minimal, but still not insignificant. However, in practice, it's surprisingly not so problematic. For example, a T-junction footprint generally remains the same thanks to the additional signal positions. So, one thing I do want to mention here is we actually have old rails, i.e. 1.1, and then the version 2 DLC rail pictures here, which are slightly improved. They're definitely easier to see, and the intersection is basically identically the same. I think the biggest addition is technically trains that are going through, so from the top to the left or the right, can actually move slightly through the intersection slightly faster. Yeah,
technically the intersection is slightly faster overall because the signals are closer to the conflict point overall.
That's a much better way. Mojo said it much better than I did. Yes. And I think I like the new rails.
They do look nice. Like, just having the smooth curve and not having that janky curve,
straight bit in the middle,
curve. The rails have always, particularly for a straight 90-degree curve, it always has that little bit of 45-degree straight in it, which just kind of makes the curve look a bit jank.
Yeah, I'm. The only thing I'm not sure about is I'm not sure about the gravel underneath the rail. That's the only thing I'm not sure about. The rails themselves, yes, the wooden sleepers, whatever nice you want to call it. Yep, they look great as well. The crushed rock underneath, I'm not sure. The
ballast.
Yeah, the ballast.
It looks a little thinner in the new graphics and a little brighter in the new graphics. The sleepers, if anything, are probably a little bit too clean looking in the new graphics. If I was to make any remark about it.
Yes, I agree. Definitely less clean.
Sort of flies in the face of
the dirty brown game that Mojo enjoys.
the dirty brown game.
Yeah. Yes. Our
But this is such a small, minute criticism. Like, I should preface that by saying this is such a minute criticism. Like,
Yeah.
it's still really good overall.
Yeah, that's all right. Somebody will dirty it up for you. It'll be right. And then we have a selection of all the many different types of rail that we have now. What? How?
This is all of the different rotations. So you press 17. Imagine having to press it like 22 times.
Yeah, I noticed that the stoppers on the end are much improved from what they were previously.
They're a lot cleaner.
Yeah, I still think they need to be taller. That's the comment. Yep. I also noticed. Oh no, we do have a straight there. Okay. Yep. This is very tiny.
There are straights and straight verticals.
Yeah.
And diagonals.
Yeah.
And then you got the 4 rotations of the 22.5.
Yeah. Oh god, what a nightmare. No. So the new curves and half diagonals allow for a much more nuance shapes. So getting through narrow gaps is much easier. So we do have a wonderful picture here of being able to slide trains through cliffs, which was always a nightmare. And I do have...
That's what cliff explosives are for.
It is. I do have a wonderful picture shared by Boss Kid. I believe this was Reddit or Discord, one of the two, where he's managed to slot rails through a very, very tight gap between two cliffs, which you could do previously. It'd just take up a lot more space. Yeah.
Or cliff explosives.
Or cliff
turn
explosives.
cliffs off.
Yeah.
Or play a save game that predates cliffs.
Yeah. Just blow up the cliffs. Yeah. So we now have a 2-tile gap, a 4-tile gap, and a 6-tile gap between tracks without too much problem. And I have a feeling. So the default up until now was a 4-tile gap between train tracks because that just worked. It worked. You did have people make 2-tile ones that sort of worked.
So currently, looking at these diamonds, the 2-tile one was not possible until this track.
Oh, that's right. It was a 4-tile and a 6-tile. Yep.
Yeah, 2-tile you could do. That's some people call it narrow gauge, but you had to do all kinds of chaos to make it join with the other rail.
Yeah. So we had a 2-tile, which was narrow gauge, and then you'd be just pretty much just as good as just putting the 2 train tracks right beside one another anyway, and having a 0 gauge pretty much. And then you had
if only that one, because you had to put the signals on the outside.
Yes, it was right-hand drive only. Yeah, and then you had a 4-tile, which was big enough for a Roboport, which was very, very common.
That was the standard one, which this diamond was not possible to be fully signaled in the current rail system, the 1.0 rail system.
Oh no, you'd signal either side of it. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, but you couldn't put the signals in the middle. So this is a significant change: is that you can now squeeze signals inside to fully isolate the top and the bottom.
Okay. He has a point. And then 6-tile, which you'd normally see on right-hand drives, because that would give you enough space to do intersections easily with the signals on the outside. Yep.
And it was also the only way to do the diamond fully signaled.
Yes. So I'm curious what the new meta is going to be. I wonder if it's going to be a 2-tile gap, because people don't have to have the extra space. You're going to lose the ability to have the crossings be nicely segmented, but in theory you're not using that much, and it does mean it's going to be like the perfect size to get a power pole through the middle, because that's really what people care about, not so much the Roboport but the power poles.
It's a game changer for bot sandwich builders.
Oh god. Okay.
The bot sandwich builds, so you have the rails in the middle, which is the center of the crafting assembly machine sandwich. Because those, normally to really optimize them, you have the narrow spacing. So it means you can do a lot more. Like, normally building the tracks for that is really difficult.
So Mojo's referring to the I bring a train in with like ore on it, and then I unload it into a whole bunch of, passive providers, active providers, doesn't matter.
Providers
chests
in the center.
Yeah, that then go to the Roboports, that then go out to the smelters, that then come back as plate and then get loaded into a different train. And yeah, you're right. They've been traditionally done as a double-headed train. So train comes in, unloads everything, and then leaves the way it came, rather than a flow through, because you don't normally have the other train. You know, you bring in raw one side and take out plate the other, because
Yeah, that's
that was
one
just
combination.
well, that was generally the easiest way to get the trains in and out.
It was the easiest. Yeah. It meant that they didn't have to cross each other.
Yeah.
There was some advantages to it.
Yeah.
The main thing is that it was balanced top and bottom, so you'd have the smelters equal number of smelters top and bottom.
Yes.
And minimum robot travel distance.
Yeah. Yeah. It was all about optimizing, your robot travel distance and also robot count. And it does mean that, now you can get trains in and out that much cleaner and that much quicker and that much tighter. Yeah, it's going to change things a lot.
Yeah, it opens up a lot more options for those builds, because those always, as I say, always had problems with getting the track geometry right. You ended up losing a lot, ended up having giant junctions to try and make everything line up again.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have, what's this? Blah, 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 blah. There's enough cannon signals positions even when times get desperate. You also notice the rail segment visualization has been changed. It now shows the signal directions. I didn't even realize that, because honestly, I don't even look at the
You got to zoom in pretty far to see those arrows.
Yeah, I agree. They could be bigger, but I don't even see them anymore. I don't see the rail signal visualization thing at all anymore, because I've been doing rails predating that feature being even a debug feature. It was just, yeah. When they add it as a debug feature, people are like, oh, you can turn that on. I'm like, yeah, I don't need to turn that on. I'm not going to worry about ever turning that on. And then it now comes on via default.
It became normal, yeah.
And again, I don't even look at it, which is probably why I sometimes jump into a train on the wrong side of the tracks and start heading down the wrong side of the train line. It's fine. As long as you don't run head into something, it'll be great. Yes. So we have our original example.
Just make sure your train's bigger than the train you run into.
Yes.
Then the other train will get squashed out the way.
Or you get well, if it's a personal train, it's fine, because when it blows up, you get ejected to the side. There is an advantage to just having just the loco. It also means you might get stuck out in the middle of nowhere without a loco anymore, because it's rubble on the tracks beside you. Yes, but it means that our original example, I think this is slightly tighter than the original example. Yes.
Yeah, so this is a 2-tile spaced track.
And signaled. Yeah. That's gross. I don't like it.
And you'll notice that you have a horizontal coming in, a 45 going up, and a 22.5 going down.
Oh, I didn't notice that. That makes it worse. Thanks, Mojo.
Excellent. Glad to have helped.
Yeah, that's gross. I don't like that. Yeah. Oh, boy, yeah.
Which means that I'm going to have to do all kinds of 22.5 degree angle junctions.
I'm so glad you're doing it, not me. Okay. Yes, it does mean, because of the bigger curves, it means that your friends might have got used to using 32 by 32 modular rail blueprints, might not tolerate the new system. Now, Mojo, yours are 28 by 28, right?
Yes, because they're driven by the length of 4 train wagons.
Yeah, I actually thought they were driven by the power reach on a large power pole.
Nope, they're actually short of a power pole maximum reach.
Power pole is... No, I have it here. Power pole is 30 tile wire reach. And yes, they've also upgraded that to 32 tiles, which means now, technically, if people make chunk-aligned blueprints, as long as you get one power pole in the middle or on a corner or wherever inside your rail network, your rail blueprint, then you're going to connect to every adjoining chunk. So that's going to be nice, I think.
It's a pretty neat feature.
It is a pretty neat feature. I also don't think you want it in the center, because probably if you're going to have a little crossover between like one track and the other, you probably want that in the center of the blueprint. So that means you can't put the power pole in the center of the blueprint. So
it definitely means you won't be able to transmit wires, because if it's not on the boundary, then it won't connect any wires together.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh. Because yes, yours also come with red and green wires hooked up. Yeah.
It even comes with landfill, my one.
Yeah. So down description, link to Mojo's blueprints. Yeah. This is why I use them.
Everything's been thought of.
Yeah. So yes, they have increased the large power pole range to 32 by 32, which also means, and this is the thing that got me, normally if you're extending out roboports, okay, you're extending out roboports, you put one down, you can put the next one 50 tiles away. Well, the problem is a large power pole reaches 30 tiles, which you'd go with, like, I could put one in the middle between one roboport and the other, but the catch is because you want to put like one on the left of a roboport and one on the right of a roboport and blah 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 blah, you generally need two in the middle because it wouldn't quite reach. The good news is with the range adjustment it can now reach, and Mojo will be really happy that I believe a legendary large power pole has a 42 tile range because of the extensions. It'd be an extra
because
5
of the
tiles.
the bonus.
Yeah. Extra 5 tiles at either end, which is going to take you from, that must be 10 tiles? I don't know. But also a 14 by 14 supply area.
Which means you can completely surround it in roboports.
Also, yes, you can also completely remove normal power poles from your base and use nothing but legendary power poles. Legendary big power poles.
I saw it coming.
Yeah, I saw it coming that I will make a base that has nothing at some stage, nothing but legendary large power poles, and then you're going to open it, and then you're going to see the wiring mess, and then you're going to have a heart attack. Because there is no way I'm cleaning up the wires on it. I'm just going to put them down and let them go. Because that's how I roll. Yes.
Just let people suffer.
Yeah, pretty much. I'll get told. Look, it's all about that viewer interaction. I will get told in every single video that there, by at least 3 people, there's a mod to fix those wires. I'll be like, thanks. I'll look at it next episode, and we'll just continue that for a whole series. So yes, if they rework any entity, you got to also rework the remnants. As a bonus, they also have fuzzy edges. So when rail remnants end, they don't look as out of place as before. I don't even remember what they looked like before.
Similar to that.
Yeah.
I know, but you look at it from a distance, and it's like looking through the normal rails through like the bottom of a glass bottle or something. How it really distorts.
Yeah.
Just keep having. It just look like that. It's like keep.
Yeah.
It works though.
So yes. Last one is we're now gonna have a slightly neater stackers. Yeah.
Even though you can't squeeze signals in.
I'm pretty sure you can squeeze signals into those.
I'm not sure you can.
I think you can.
Also, going back to the point before, the decoratives interact with the sleepers.
Oh, they do too. The grass
so
grows
I can retract what I said before.
Yeah, okay.
Because it wasn't accounting for the interaction with the tiles.
Yeah. Hang on. Back to the start. Do we have any pictures with signals hard up against one rail and the next?
You need at least one tile gap to get the signals in the middle.
Do you?
Yeah.
Have they changed it? Does the signal now become part of a track? So if the track's valid, therefore the signal's valid, therefore you don't need a one tile gap?
Well, I didn't see an
example
that shows such an example.
Not disagreeing, but it is a limitation of the current train system. Also, the fact that I can't flip a train track that has signals.
Oh, yes. So there was some... I was wondering about that. We were talking about it before starting.
Yep.
Going back to the 4 points near the top, where one of them is hard-coded connectivity rules. So where that issue, or where that limitation comes from, is the hard-coded connectivity rules, because when you flip a blueprint, a rail blueprint, the signal ends up being rotated 180 degrees on the wrong side.
Mm-hmm.
So potentially, if there's changes to the logic, the game might be able to figure out how to reconnect the signal correctly.
Just make it unload station. Okay, for belts, train, blah blah blah, ore patch, and then it's loading or unloading on the right hand side, and then I go to the next ore patch, happens to be on the left hand side. It's not something I blueprint. It's not something that I carry around a blueprint book full of all these sort of things, or just build one, because I've built enough of them. I know how to do it by heart. But after I've built one in a game, I'd like to just select one, say copy, bring it up here, and just press the flip button, and it doesn't work. But yeah,
and then you're angry.
Oh, I'm angry. I'm angry because I need to find somewhere in my inventory to put the damn thing, to then open it up to say remove all signals, to then take my blueprint, press the flip button, put it back down, and just put down the signals manually. But it's just annoying. It's just one of those little annoying things. Right?
Do you know what's even more annoying than that?
Having to rotate a rail segment 23 times.
Oh, it's even worse than that.
Oh, yeah, what?
It's actually only semi-related, but it's the random Factorio 2 machines, which have the same restriction, even though there is no fixed rotation for them.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the mod's fault. That's not base game fault. That's the mod fault. That's taken up with the mod dev. Yep. So, Friday Facts. Graphic process. The graphic of new rails is something I'm particularly proud of. Reworking rails for visual improvement wasn't the goal. Nobody really complaining about high-resolution rails. Back in Friday Facts 163.
Ooh.
Which is...
Now, avert your gaze, forewarning, because you get to see the original rails in that.
Oh, no, these are not even the original rails.
No, they do show the original rails in that.
Oh, no, there's older rails than this, Mojo. These are not the... We go back further than this. This is... The original rails were even worse, okay? This is the slightly improved ones we've been having...
Oh, unless you mean the pre-9 ones.
Yeah, that's the original rails. That's the original rails.
I think it's like 0.4 or something.
I have no idea. We have the original rails. We have the rails in the current solution, which is 14. This was the 14 update, which was much better, way better, like heaps better.
I think it was actually 15 or 16.
I don't know. It would have been 15. They're mentioning 14. 14.8 is their stable build.
Yeah, because 13 and 14 were basically the same thing.
Yeah, so this is when we have the improved rails. Prior to that, we had much worse. And I'm not even going to bring up much worse. It was ghastly. But we accepted it. We accepted it. Just like the old locomotive that you will actually find some mods still use because it's a free asset. Anyway, yes, V really liked working on rail graphics, took the opportunity to make the rails look even better than before. The metal parts are thicker, so they're visible more consistently, even when zooming out. There's a bunch of fake shadows inside the rails to make them generally look less flat. Layering of individual pieces is even trickier and more hideous than before. The ground integration just fits much better, and a much more tiny improvements have been applied. Of course, the new issue with the old rails didn't appear, especially around combining the rail pieces together, as every single rail can now fork into just 3 other rails, meaning I, for example, spent literally weeks arranging wooden tiles bit by bit in a maddening process, but now all the different rail pieces fit together really well. Was it just the rails? Was following avalanche of things that need to be updated to fit the new rails? Rail endings, which are the thingies that... they need to be taller. They need to be more obvious. Yes. Train stops and all the remnants. Yes.
The broken bits.
The broken bits. Yes. The visualization graphics for the system, the rail candidate signal graphics, spot visualization. Everything had to change. And I am beyond thankful beyond description to Jersey from our 3D artists who bravely handled the entire list avalanche so I could move on to other tasks and at least retain some leftover traces of his sanity. I don't think we've had Jersey in the Friday Facts before.
Don't think so. It's one of the other 3D artists. I think we did mention them briefly a little while ago when we were looking at all the different names in the credits.
Yes, which is actually on the second channel where I uploaded the pre-Friday Facts and the post-Friday Facts preamble. If you wanted to see that from last week, it's on the other channel. I'll put a link down in the description. Mojo doesn't know about that yet, but that's fine.
I do now.
do now.
Forgotten already.
Yeah. There was a lot to do. And yeah, V is the main graphics guy. He's been the main graphics guy
since forever.
Everything, I think, except for the first year of Factorio. Yes, we're quite aware. We weren't quite aware of the amount of things that would need changing. Some of it already done in the process of updating the rail graphics to higher resolution in 2016. Some of it new features that added after time, like the rail signal/rail segment helper overlays. Naturally, expects as we have systems for all the graphics design process. It's going to be faster than last time. The catch is that quality standard also keeps increasing, which is always a good thing. And we always find some time for things to improve. So the entire process still took several months to implement. months. Yeah.
Months of redrawing all of those graphics.
Yeah. I don't think it's redrawing it. I think it's just lining them up. Yeah.
Drawing, in general. Drawing, lining up, getting it all working.
Yeah, there are a lot of technical problems the boss kid and Kovacs had to handle, in particular making the rail planner behave, even when it has many more rail pieces to choose from, was quite difficult. I wonder if that means it's going to stop when you try to just slide the rail just over a little bit, whether it's going to stop that loop-to-loop. That loop-to-loop that always shows up
the loop-to-loop.
The second before you click. Like, the brain says click mouse, we're good with the rail placement, and then we, like, between the signal getting from your head to your finger, the Factorio is like, no, let's do a loop-to-loop. And then the click goes through. Yeah.
Factorio would be like, wee, loop-to-loop.
Yeah.
Like the old Firefox animation.
Yeah. So in the end, he was truly convinced it was all worth it, and I believe you feel the same way once you get to play with it. I am curious to play with it. Yes.
So am I.
Yes.
It's definitely worth hard work. Has definitely paid off.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what the new meta is, and it's going to be interesting to see how long it's going to take Mojo to update his blueprints. So, as you can probably guess, new rail curves will be incompatible with the old ones. Save games for 1.1 can be open, and trades will still run on the previous builds, just previous built rails just like normal, but you weren't able to construct the old rails at all anymore. In some future Factorio update, when we try to drop 1.1 save compatibility, let's say 2.1, we'll eventually get rid of the old rail shapes completely, which I actually don't have a problem with. You know,
it's been done before. It's
been done before, and honestly, Woob carries compatibility forward so far before they finally like, no, that's it. I know someone was talking on my Discord today about how they found a save from version 14 or 15 that obviously you can't open anymore, and it was like, okay, so I'm going to open this in 16 to then save it, to then open it in 18?
18, yes.
To then save it, then I can open it in 1.1, which is where we're at.
Yeah. 1.0, 1.1.
Yeah.
And all of these versions are available for download as well.
Oh, they're available for download via either Woob directly or via Steam. You can just select the Betas tab and just pick an old version and go.
Yeah, all the way back to version 12 is there.
And actually, turns out there's version 7 available on Woob directly. So if you really,
that's interesting.
Really hate yourself, by all means, go grab an old version. Look, do me a favor. Go grab version 12 of Factorio, okay? I have no idea if the editor command still works, but I'm sure you'll work it out. And just build some rails. Just build some rails in the old versions of Factorio.
Cheat, I think. No, that doesn't even work in that.
No, it doesn't work. I think it's just /editor. I think it's just /editor.
No, there's definitely no editor. That's way later. You got to do the game.player.insert.
Oh,
to give you the items. Yeah.
Just research rails. It won't take you long. You've done it lots of times. It'll take you minutes. Anyway, this is where we're going to leave Friday Facts number 377. And we'll see you next week with who knows what comes next. Bets, Mojo, I'll take your bets.
All bets are off now.
All bets are off. Okay, all bets are off. I want to say combat. Can I put down combat? Can I put down combat as a request?
Oh, yes. Actually, we haven't seen anything about biters yet.
No.
We have seen the brain sack biter.
Yeah, well, like 5 years ago. Yep.
Yeah, 5 million years ago.
Yeah. Add to that. If we've updated trains, we have an artillery wagon. I wonder if we're ever going to get a wagon that doesn't shoot artillery shells, that shoots tank shells or shoots machine guns.
Cannon.
Yeah, cannons. Anything that you put on with your artillery, so it at least has some sort of hope of defending itself during combat.
An artillery train that can actually defend itself.
Yeah. And I'm going to leave you with a picture of a wagon with a rocket launcher on top with nukes loaded. Anyway, with all that said and done, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed. We'll see you in the very next video. All right, bye.
Bye.